Hello, welcome to Irinka's Kitchen. I'd like to share a favorite family recipe that my grandmother cooked for her family and my mother cooked for our family and her friends, and it's called Hungarian goulash soup. It's called Gulyás Leves in Hungarian. So what I'd like to do is share this very simple and economical soup that can be frozen into Ziploc containers. It can be cooked for a large group of people or a smaller group of people. So what I'd like to do is share how to actually start this great recipe. It is a stovetop recipe and it should be cooked on top of the stove, and there's some really great tips that I'd like to share with you to make it a really tasty soup. So what I'd like to do is show you that I've diced 2 to 3 medium onions, and I've also diced some potatoes, so 2 small potatoes, and I've cut up some beef, bite-sized pieces, about a half a kilogram of stewing beef, and also some spices. I've got spices here. I've got ground pepper, I've got some salt, sea salt, and Hungarian paprika that I usually use. But you can use other kinds of paprika, whatever is available for you. I use a sweet paprika. Then of course some vegetable shortening. So what I'd like to do is first of all melt shortening in a large stock pot. So we'll get that started. And we will start off by heating the stock pot, and we will add 1 to 2 tablespoons of shortening, vegetable shortening. So we're going to melt the shortening on the bottom of the stock pot. And while I'm doing that, I'd just like to tell you a story about my mother as far as her serving her guests. So she would prepare this early in the morning, get it ready for her guests, and then she would go to church on Sunday and it would be all ready. And then after church, her friends would gather at our house. Sometimes she'd invite 20 to 30 people, so she'd make actually triple the recipe of this to be served with a large group of people, and then she'd serve it with some homemade Hungarian bread, and of course she would serve some of her desserts, which I'll be sharing in my other websites. So as this is melting, I'm going to prepare getting the cut up beef and slightly frying the beef in the shortening. So I'm going to take all of this, this is about a half a kilogram of stewing beef, and I'm going to add that to the stock pot. And I'm going to slightly brown it. And I'm going to start it off at high heat. Then I'm going to add my onions. Once my beef has browned a bit, then I'm going to add the onions, the two onions. And this is 2 medium onions. There's quite a bit of onions in this recipe. You could cut back on the onions. You could use one onion, small onion, depending on how much onion you like in your recipe. My grandmother liked to use a lot of onion in her recipe. And of course, I just keep stirring that and putting it on high heat. And you can put the burner on to a maximum, like the larger burn, to get it going quicker. So as you can see, I've got the large burner on right now. And I keep continually stirring that to make sure that my recipe doesn't burn. So you kind of watch this and you kind of bring it to a sort of brown it a bit. And get the flavor of the onions in there. I put it down to about 8, put it on maximum, level 8 on my stove. It's an electric stove, it's a General Electric stove. If you have a gas stove, then you'd kind of control your temperature. I usually try to bring it down a little bit more, and then make sure that I'm not burning anything. But continual stirring. As you notice, like a lot of times I'm stirring my recipes. It's really important to do that, just to get all the ingredients stirred well in there. And this is great served with brown bread. It's great served with dumplings. Like I'm going to have a recipe for dumplings that can be added to this recipe. You can cook up some dumplings and add it to the soup. If you're going to freeze down the soup, I wouldn't recommend you putting the dumplings into the soup because it could go bad quicker. So I would leave it out and then just add it and make fresh dumplings to go with your soup. So that's just a tip, because the soup will go sour if the dumplings are left in there for a long time. So this is starting to brown quite well. And it's vegetable shortening. I've used vegetable shortening, about 2 tablespoons. You can cut back on it. You can use a tablespoon depending on how much you want to use. Then I've got, then I'm going to add water to it. And this 1 liter of water to my soup. Add that. And then stir it around a bit. Make sure that everything's stirred around well. And then add the potatoes. This is 2 small potatoes. You don't want to overdo using too much potatoes, because then it sort of clouds over the soup, so you want to make sure that you don't use a whole lot. So this is 2 small potatoes that I've diced up. And I like them diced up small, but if you prefer them larger, you can also do it that way. And then I add some potatoes to it. Another variation that I mentioned in my recipe is that you can add diced carrots, just 1 medium diced carrot into your recipe. Add some vegetables to it. My mother sometimes added a bit of tomato also. Depending on what you have at home, you might have some little ripe tomatoes and you want to use them up. You can put them inside of this recipe. It also gives it color. But I'm just going to leave this out because this is actually a very traditional way of the region that my grandmother came from. Each region has a different way of preparing goulash soup. So I'm going to just place those bowls over to the side, and I'm going to bring my spices over here. And what I've got is ground pepper. So I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of ground pepper. If you prefer to have less, you can have 1/8 of a teaspoon. I've got 1/4 teaspoon. Some people like to have more. And then I have a 1/2 teaspoon of, actually this is kosher sea salt. So 1/2 teaspoon of that. And that is, kosher salt is quite salty, so you don't need to use a whole lot. And then of course paprika. I use a teaspoon of it. You could actually use more if you want, but I'm just going to use just enough to give it some color. Gives it a magnificent color, like red color to it. And you will see underneath my recipe, the written part of it, a picture of it. I'm going to take a picture of it so you can actually see what it looks like. But it is looking just great. And then I stir this around. And then I cook this until the beef is cooked. So it might take up to an hour, to 1/2 an hour. And I've got it actually on high heat right now. I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'm going to bring it down to medium heat, and I'm going to let it cook slowly at medium temperature, medium heat. And the potatoes, it shouldn't take the potatoes too long to cook. The beef is already starting to look half cooked. So, and then you just keep checking to make sure your meat is cooked well. And like I say, you can put You can put carrots in there, a little bit of tomatoes if you have some leftover tomatoes in there, just to add some more color to it. But this is a very, very great recipe, and as I mentioned, you can add dumplings to it, and that will be on my website also, a recipe on how to make dumplings. Hello, it's been cooking for about an hour and a half, the Hungarian goulash soup, and so I'm going to go over to the stove and show you exactly how it looks like. It's just smelling just great. You can smell the beef and the onions and the potatoes, so I'm going to spoon this into a large bowl like this, a serving bowl like this, and it's a meal in one. It's a great recipe to serve with, like I said, with brown bread or your favorite bread, and you can put margarine on the bread and serve it like that. So I'd like to bring it up to the camera and show you exactly like what it looks like. And it's smelling just great. Like, you know, you can smell the beef and you can smell the onions in it, and it's got a great aroma. So I hope you will enjoy this recipe, and I hope that you come back and visit my kitchen. And I'd like you can contact me at Irene@irinkaskitchen.com. That's my email, and my website is irinkaskitchen.com. Until next time, bon appetit, jó étvágyat, and thank you for coming to visit my kitchen.